Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Soul in the building. What is you gonna do? Probably nothing because I'm too darn true. Here's a little message from me to you. Welcome back to the Inner Storyteller, everybody out there in the whole wide world. Welcome back to your real life. And, today I was like, we're going to get back into our culture control vibes. We are going to take a dip in the culture control pool. We are going to discuss culture control, why the love of money is objectively the root of all evil by soul expression. That'd be me. That would be me. And not even just like the book, like I'm not getting ready to read the book to you, but I might read a passage or two, but we're going to talk about the core message of this book, which is that government is slavery. Okay. I didn't prepare a script. Obviously, I already wrote the book. And I want to start the episode with actually having you see a couple videos on Instagram. I wish I could show you the worst ones, but obviously, what's allowed on Instagram is not the same thing as what's allowed on YouTube. So we have to avoid getting stricketh from the platform or getting the video muted or something, whatever. But I'm going to show you a couple videos. And we're just going to talk about my perspective on government being slavery. And when I say slavery, I do mean slavery. So if you are here, you are in for real conversations. Talk about natural law, talk about religion, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the great. Talk about money, talk about anarchy, culture, and how mankind is manipulated from the shadows by people that do not have our best interests at heart, perhaps because they are completely evil. But we are not bashing faith systems here or calling people names for having a religion of their choice. We are simply examining the psychological effects of the stories that we have the most faith in, the ones that we have the most stake in. And we're exploring how those stories help shape society. That examination has to sit right alongside an honest look at the current human condition, the state of the human family, which is slavery. Because government is slavery, good people. But the question we have to keep returning to is what can actually be improved with a proper understanding of the inner storyteller and how it works? And if any of that makes you uncomfortable, uneasy, or anything like that in any way, please understand that although you are encouraged to stay, you are indeed welcome to leave at any given time. Okay? But I I want to go ahead. Let me share the screen. Oh, first, let's bring up the thumbnail. This is starting to become a thing. I guess I've been doing it for a little while, but I wasn't doing it as a thing. It's just sort of becoming a thing. In the thumbnail, we have on the top right the religion of man's authority. This is the religion that I consider the father of all religions. Okay, there is rarely a religion that gets any lasting power to it, to the people that run it, to its priest class. There is rarely a religion that does not um, have doctrine and dogma surrounding man's authority over other men. Okay, man's divine right to rule over his or her peers. So the religion of man's authority, I call the father of all religion. And of course, if you've been with this channel for any time, you know the mother of all religion is, of course, the religion of monetary value. But the religion of man's authority is what we're really talking about today. In my philosophy, the religion of monetary value does give birth to the religion of man's authority, but that's a different topic for a different video. You should check out the rest of this podcast from beginning to end. Now, what we are told by the religion of man's authority is that you have a few tasks that make up the baseline of what's called the cost of living. These tasks include obey, right? Obey the authority, meaning obey the laws that man's authority says, obey the people, even if they're not going by the law, obey the person in that moment, comply over just doing what's right, no matter who's talking to you, what they're saying. So obey, pay taxes, okay, pay for being alive with false value that it takes a hell of a lot of effort to gain. Pay taxes, do this ritual where every year you're pledging a certain amount of this thing called monetary value to your government, so that you can avoid being pursued with violence and or kidnapping from your government, if you refuse to play this game. You know, so follow orders and fear authority. This is the last task. You're told to fear the authority. All right. So that is the thumbnail. Thank you for humoring me. Now let me go ahead and share my screen, and let's get into what I wanted to react to today. This video right here. Oh, hold on. Didn't add it to the stage yet. I know I clicked add to stage. Oh, before presenting, remove the other media. Oh, my bad. There we go. Okay. I had to. Anyway, we're doing this video. This video right here. Again, the topic is government is slavery, and that's pretty much all you need to know going into this here.
The guy's at a car wash. He gave a cigarette to another guy who he knows that he's friends with. And this is the response by the cops.
What'd that guy hand you?
He handed me a cigarette. Talking about my buddy Ronnie?
Cadillac?
Yeah, I work with him.
Okay, well, the issue I got is there's an off-duty he was watching.
The deal I got is that an off-duty was watching you.
All right, man.
Dude, all he handed me was a cigarette.
So you're telling me the off-duty, what he saw was bull?
Yes.
There's no victim. There's no crime. I don't care what they're handing each other. I don't give a Leave people alone. Get out of our fucking business.
The off-duty sees you, right?
I don't care what the off-duty said he saw.
Talk to you.
No, you're gonna leave me alone.
I'm talking to you because I got enough PC. I've already talked to off-duty. I want your information before we leave.
For what?
So one cop saw him hand something to somebody else. The black guy handed him a cigarette. He didn't know what that handoff was, so that's probable cause. And that's why you hear this dirty pig say, I got enough probable cause right here, because he said he saw you hand something.
Don't get in that truck. I'll call you.
Oh, you're jammed up now, man. Yeah, you are.
Hey, step out of that truck. Get your hands up, too. Next thing is getting tased, dude.
For what, bro? You're gonna tase me?
Step out of the vehicle now.
For what?
Get out of the damn vehicle.
Okay, you're violating my rights.
Get out of the vehicle now.
For what, bro?
Get out of the vehicle now.
Why?
You have to let the cops have total dominion over your every move you make.
I'm not.
And from here, of course, it gets weird, as he's not being compliant. He's not obeying. All right. He was handed a legal substance. He was handed a cigarette. It's really bad for you, but it's completely legal. And he still had it in his hand when the cop that got the call, hey, come check this guy out. He was just handed something by some black guy. Right? So he gets the call. He comes and he need like the Delete Laws channel guy just said. Oh, Jake is the guy's name. So Jake has to comply with absolutely everything on the dime, even if he switches up on the dime that this cop says, or he is in violation of some sort of obedience clause that may be just in the very, very, very fine print of your contract with the government that you were born under.
Get out. Stop. Dude, what the?
Yeah, they got a whole gang. There's a whole gang of people to attack him.
What are you doing it for?
What are they
Hey,
doing?
Give it up. Give it up. Give it up. What the
Look at them beating him up.
What the f- doing this for? Why are you guys doing this?
Online court records from St. Clair County show he was charged with 3 felony counts of assaulting, battering, resisting, obstructing a police officer,
He was charged with battering a police officer because he got in his own truck.
as well as 1 felony count of possession of meth, ecstasy, all which remain pending. Videos posted to his channel, 3 which run more than an hour, show the cops finding no drugs on him or in his truck, expressing frustration at not finding anything. But after finding nothing, one cop tells Kidder, as he's sitting in the back of a patrol car, that you will be stripped down buck naked at the jail. So it would be better to tell them if he had drugs hidden.
We're gonna strip you down butt naked.
I know. It's fine. Go ahead.
So-
I'll go right here.
What we're trying to say is if there is something in there and you bring it into the jail, it's a whole separate charge.
I don't have it.
Okay.
When I'm governor, I'm going to establish police.
Okay. Government is slavery. We are taught and trained and conditioned, and this idea is reinforced by media, that if you are an American, you are free. And you are free because the Constitution that established the government that we call the United States government, that Constitution protects your rights, which come from God, and no other country, no other place does it like us. When you look at this video and you imagine how common it is for an off-duty cop to say something to an on-duty cop, and the on-duty cop showing up, not knowing what happened, getting the explanation of what happened, and choosing to violently torture civilians and citizens on his whim, if he feels like his authority is being disrespected, or if he feels that he is somehow being reminded of his neglectful father, or whatever his problem is, right? The brutality is the commonality among the American police force as a whole. As a whole, it is the most brutal force as far as a domestic, sort of, I don't know, a domestic protection wing. It's the most brutal force that we have almost in the world, outside of, like, I don't know. And I don't even want to say, because the news that we get about other countries is often filled with lies and half truths. So I don't even want to try to accurately compare other countries' police forces. I know there are certain regimes that are worse than us, but as far as first world countries go, we have there is no close second to our prison population. There is no close second to our complaint accumulation, like official complaint accumulation in all of the counties in the United States. There's no close second. We are first, and first. I would venture to say, but as a guess, even per capita, we are the worst. That, to me, reflects the exact opposite of freedom. That, to me, reflects a state of slavery. It reflects a state of slavery so good and so thorough and so well designed that people can see a video like this who are Americans like myself, so-called. See a video like this, watch it, and still have the idea that they themselves are free. That he should have just complied. That he shouldn't have asked over and over, but why? Why are you escalating this? What are you talking about? But what? He shouldn't have asked the question. He should have just said, yes, sir, and done whatever he was talking about. Right? And I mean, look at all of the whole thing from start to finish is accusatory, and then tyrannical, and then it escalates to, um, you better not get in that truck. You better not get in there and try to flee. Right? You better not get in a space where I can't physically get to you exactly how I want to, or I'm gonna get mad. Right? To now I'm getting ready to tase you, to yanked out the car. The whole sequence, yanked out the car, put on the ground, face down, hands behind his back, blah blah blah. He's like, I'm all right, giving up, giving up. Why are y'all doing all this? And put in the torture cuffs, and then he gets put in the metal squad car with his hands in the torture cuffs, and then they open the door and start an interrogation to try and see if they can up the drug charges on him, because all they found was the cigarette that he said was all that he had. Now they have to justify their actions, because the way the system is set up is it's about paperwork. And so now that they've done these actions on the record, which you can think of camera footage as also being on paper. You could say it's like a movie playing on digital paper with a whole bunch of pictures. Um, Regardless, paperwork is the game, and so they have to justify why they used all of this force. So they open the door and starts interrogating while he's in torture cuffs in the back of the squad car, having no idea like why he was washing his truck. He was washing his truck at the car wash. He got handed a cigarette from a colleague. He didn't sell a Lucy, right? Or pay for one. He was handed gifted a legal cigarette, washing his car, and now he's in the back of a squad car, beat up by a whole bunch of men in costumes that call themselves protecting and serving under a constitution that they also say protects God-given rights to life, liberty being the key word, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Which is privacy. So they interrogate him about do you have any other substances on you? Do you have any? You're going to be stripped naked when you get to the station, blah, blah, blah. And they start interrogating him and using tactics to get him to say words in regards to a possible drug charge, right? And he didn't have the reflex to um, basically stay silent and or invoke his right to stay silent without his attorney or whatever, and just leave it there and not say any words in regard to the specific whatever they're talking about, and just keep invoking your rights as far as paperwork goes for them, because then that's on the paperwork record of the body cam. And now it's still this game of tug of war of they have to justify everything that they do for the paperwork. It's like balancing the books for a bank. They just have to balance whatever the paperwork's going to say. Regardless, some chickens on the farm that are destined to be slaughtered for meat and whatever else, they're slaughtered for. Some chickens are on farms that feel extremely free and comfortable. They receive love from those that will eventually slaughter them. They receive food. They receive an environment conducive to their growth and happiness. But the chickens are not free, regardless of how much comfort is in their cell. Now, united, we are free, because united, we can't be stopped. But as divided as we are, as both an American population and a human family in general, as divided as we are, as divided as we remain intentionally so that we can protect our families from the government by way of not standing out and not becoming a target of the government. We are free range, cage free, pasture chickens destined to be slaughtered for meat. Now, the real slavery is of course not the violence part. Because this type of violence by these, you know, pigs with makeup and costumes, this kind of violence is, and you know what? Let me not just dehumanize only. Let me also sprinkle in some human. These people that have the wrong idea about what government is, who have bought into the secondary idea that they are favored by the rulers of this world, which they are not. Um, but regardless, these violent occurrences is not what makes up the entire story. In fact, as far as everybody that lives in America, they really don't happen that much. Okay, and in comparison to, um, I don't know. Well, I don't need to make a comparison. The real, the real game. Okay, the real um enslavement mechanism is the mother of all religions, the religion of monetary value. Let's look at another video that that we can, here it is, surmise some truth from a basic graph representing rent prices and average income in the United States since 1986.
Take a look at this.
We had 90%, over 100%, 120%.
And the craziest part about this whole,
so we got 130, 125% or so increase on the let me see what he said. What do you say? What do you say, James?
thing is that we pay more in taxes than food, clothing, and housing combined. Welcome.
All right, yeah, that's over 120% increase in rent, in average rent prices, and only a mere 20% increase or so in average income. Average income. Now, when it comes to averages, there are some that are so high up it messes up the average, and but we can take it on face value, and even a 20% increase versus over 120% increase in the other, there is a huge imbalance at play. And a lot of people feel like right now you're either rich as hell or you're poor as hell. And there is no what they call middle class. There is no middle ground. You're either at the top of the food chain, comfortable with generational wealth and um systems that generate both revenue and profit for you without you lifting a finger, or you are barely getting by, or you're not getting by and you're homeless and starving right next to the McDonald's, starving to death. And this dichotomy, this dynamic, is getting to be a tighter and tighter and tighter squeeze, revealing something real about our condition of slavery. Something that I would say is inarguable with, from the side of people that say, yeah, but um, there's ways to do government that's not slavery. First of all, the religion of monetary value necessitates a state. Why is that? Because the religion of monetary value is based on credit, debt, and promises. It's based on contract. It's based on opinion and belief. It's not really based on uh, what value actually is in nature, right? Value fluctuates with time in nature. It's static when you try to apply it to a monetary system. And that truth, right? That it's purely imaginary, and yet it has to be stagnant when we write down on paper this much gold, an ounce of gold is this much monetary value units. An ounce of silver is this much monetary value units. A haircut is this much monetary value units. When we decide that, it becomes static. Whereas in nature, value works differently, right? A hug is worth $1 million to some people. An apple is worth $1 million to some people. And then once they eat the apple, it's worth 50 cents, right? But when they were starving, or they really needed the nutrients in that apple, and their body was calling for it, and they were, in risk of something, or they were just super duper hungry, and you toss them an apple, they can't repay what that means to them. That's how value actually works in nature. And you know this, of course. I'm not trying to say that this is some sort of new aspect of how to look at value. I'm saying this should give some pause into how we perceive monetary value and how it is used to squeeze people, real life in real life, through contracts, and we don't and just the knowledge that we don't have to play that game. We can put down the game of monetary value and choose to share, provide, teach, respond to problems that show up together as a human family, and uh, do so smartly, I guess. With recognition that there will always be people that are born that are for some reason violent and manipulative, or both. We choose to give our responsibility of solving problems to governments. We choose not to work together, but to allow the government to work for us. And in exchange, the government says, okay, cool, just do me a favor and kiss the ring. Just do me a favor and pledge allegiance. Just do me a favor and comply. If you comply, I pinky swear that you comply. I pinky swear that I will never violate these rules that I'm writing down for us to follow. You know how that story goes. And so the religion of monetary value is so complex. It's so intricate. It tries to make static so many parts of psychology and nature that are not static, that are ever changing, that it requires a high level of study to understand the whole picture of it. To understand the whole picture of an economic system of any given sophisticated nation or civilization of any time period, it requires sophisticated study. It requires time and effort. And therefore, it's hard to understand for your average person. They can understand a piece of it. They can understand, um, like the do's and don'ts. But how many people do you know that are really financially literate? And by really, I mean they can off the top explain financial concepts of the United States banking system that mean anything, that are, real and true, and if known by more people, maybe more people would be financially, what they call financially free, which is an oxymoron, right? Um, it necessitates the religion itself, the religion of monetary value, necessitates a state to serve as the interpreters of the financial or economic system of the nation, okay, and of the world, because now the world's economic systems are linked via world banks and world standards for weight and monetary value units and whatnot, right? And securities, promises, right? Um, Without the interpreters, nobody, it would take too long for everybody to study enough to be able to use the thing. So we need the interpreters to say, hey, you don't got to worry about learning actually how the financial system really works. You don't have to worry about learning actually how we came up with all of the rules for this economic system. All you have to know are the do's and don'ts, what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, and what occupation you should seek counsel from if you want to do things outside of that bubble legally. Okay? You have to come to us to do anything in life. We go, well, okay. Well, will you, since I have to come to you to understand this thing, if I'm going to use this thing, will you please handle everything for me, that sort of comes up in life? Will you handle the land? Will you handle if I need help, like with a bully or something? Will you handle educating my children? Will you handle um, protecting something? Will you handle pretty much everything for me? Uh, in exchange, we say, I will use you to interpret this financial system and buy my goods and services, right? And sell my goods and services according to your interpretations. Thus, the cycle of the religion of monetary value giving birth to the religion of man's authority, and then the religion of man's authority enforcing its its doctrine improperly, um, uh, one side in a fashion that is tyrannical in nature, and completely like if you separate people into groups, like dark skinned people, light skinned people, white people, uh white people with red hair, white people with blonde hair, white people with brown hair, black people with hoodies on, black people with button ups and suits on, uh black people driving these kind of cars, black people driving these kind of cars, white people driving these kind of trucks, you know what I'm saying? If you start separating people into groups and looking at, then you also have a lot of lopsided application of uh what the rules are for us, that gave all the responsibility for taking care of us to the government, you know? And the lengths that they go to, yeah, I wish I could show you that video. I can't. The lengths that they go to enforce compliance are ridiculous. Check this out. Another delete laws video.
It's a $10.
Guy just got tased. Fire at the gas station.
July 16th, Mojave Valley, Arizona. Chuck Coyle goes fishing at the Havasu National Wildlife Refuge. A Fish and Wildlife Officer, P. Nielsen, tells him he's trespassing. Coyle leaves. 20 minutes later, the officer follows him to a gas station and demands ID.
All I'm asking for is your license right now to identify. What am I being arrested for?
Nielsen says, "You're not cooperating."
You are not cooperating for having committed a crime. What? A misdemeanor? A misdemeanor.
Seconds later,
It's a $10.
And Nielsen fires his taser while this man is standing at a pump.
guy just got tased. Fire.
And even though the
And you would think that's the worst of it. But you'd be wrong.
man has burns all over his body from him tasing him and the gas pump catching on fire, he still wants to tell him to get on the ground, lay on your belly.
Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Wait, you like a bird. I know. Dude, it's hot.
Shit.
He knows the pavement is scorching fucking hot, but yet he's so brainwashed to follow a policy, procedure, and protocol, even if it's inhumane.
I love that he said it. Policy, procedure, and protocol. They all mean the same thing. They all mean contract, right? But the policy, procedure, and protocol over all humanity, over all humility, over all virtue whatsoever. Policy, procedure, and protocol. Am I following my superiors' written rules to the letter and using my so-called authority to force people into positions that give off the theatrical notion that I am on camera? Right? Am I following the rule book, and am I doing it, and am I making those around me who I'm interacting with, who I'm in contact with, are they playing their part to make it look like I'm following this rule book on my camera, on my body cam, or my dash cam, or the surveillance cam over there, or the flock cam over there, or whatever? Because if I'm not able to force them to do everything that I have in my head as the policy, procedure, and protocol, then I need to force them to do so. And if they won't, I'll go as far as killing them. Not me, of course, but the little oinkers in costumes. And the whole game of forcing compliance, it really is just theater at the end of the day. There is nothing about it that converts the act into a reality, that converts the interpreted I actually do have authority over this person into a real reality. Right? When they go after somebody who's non-compliant and they get violent and they force compliance via force, that doesn't convert it. And when they run into somebody that's compliant and they don't use excessive force and they just get to comply, that still doesn't actually create some sort of authority that they have and possess over somebody else. And even more weird, while they're on duty or something. Right? Not that they think that way. Obviously, you look at the domestic violence statistics of these clowns, and you find out that they also take this ego home. They take this theater everywhere with them. It's their best friend. It's their favorite shirt. This ego, this idea of a divine right to rule over others and their divine instruction to obey your commands. With that said, let's take a gander into the conversation of, is it after, I think it's after this chapter. Oh, right. Right here, into whether or not we are fooled. So, reading from my book, chapter 9, How We Are Fooled and Why We Are Wrong. In explaining the art of manipulation displayed and successfully enacted on the public by the psychopathic social engineers, it is crucial to recognize the distinct mental landscape of the power hungry psychopath. Okay? Talk about the way that the mind works in the psychopath. And first, we describe that there are two types of psychopaths, okay, according to um, the sources that I name in here. One of them being 2010 Scientific America article. Uh, One of the most striking peculiarities of psychopaths is that they lack empathy. They are able to shake off as mere tinsel the most universal social obligations. They lie and manipulate and yet feel no compunction or regret. In fact, they don't feel particularly deeply about anything at all. There are two types of psychopaths. One is born with a psychopath's brain, which is referred to as a type 1 psychopath. And then type 2 psychopaths are born with an otherwise normal brain, if you will, with all of the varieties that may be within that broad statement. And they are converted into psychopaths via trauma, environmental factors, and or substances. This mindset, oh, excuse me. That's the middle of a sentence. Attempting to understand this mindset without possessing its traits, without being one yourself, proves extremely futile. It's very, very, very difficult. Wild Goose Chase trying to really imagine what it would be like as a non-psychopath to have a psychopathic way of being. Firstly, complete lack of empathy and emotional depth plays a significant role. Type 1 psychopaths are born with neurological differences that affect their emotional processing, and they often lack the neural connections that facilitate empathy and remorse, things the average person experiences as a toddler or younger. Most people rely on empathy to understand and predict the emotions and reactions of others. Since psychopaths physically cannot feel empathy, their behavior and especially their thought processes can seem alien and incomprehensible. And I'm skipping ahead a little bit here. The absence of moral constraints further distance most people from a significant understanding of the inner experience of a psychopath. You see, psychopaths do not experience moral emotions like guilt or shame. For the average person, these emotions play a crucial role in regulating their behavior to maintain a positive social reputation. Without these internal moral constraints, psychopaths can act in ways that are unpredictable and shocking. Cognitive differences also play a part as psychopaths have a different way of processing information and making decisions, emphasizing rational calculation over emotional consideration. Due to a diminished response to fear and punishment, their risk taking capability expresses itself in ways that are near impossible for non psychopaths to relate to. And finally, limited exposure and understanding of the condition exacerbate the difficulty in understanding their mental landscape. Okay? There are not that many people that you are going to be around for any significant amount of time who are actual psychopaths. And that limited exposure makes it for like the collective makes it very hard to um, understand where they're coming from, because you're just not nobody's around them, right? And if you are around them, you're not around it long enough to know what you're around, to recognize it. So genuine psychopathy is relatively rare. Most people have limited exposure to said condition. Not every psychopath is running the world, but I do believe that to behave in such a way as to assume the position of a ruler, dictator, or secret society member that seeks domination over other human beings, you would have to be at least a little psychotic. And that is a little dive into the mind of not only little piggies in uniform, but also the big piggies in the green uniforms. You know, those that go across other borders and into other waters and into other skies and do their killing. The ones that the occult order giving class make wear dog tags because they call them their dogs. You know, a lot of us in America own attack dogs, right? Or we own dogs that could serve as attack dogs if need be, and we train them that way. Police have canine units and bomb sniffers and whatnot. And a soldier is literally the epitome of an order follower. Now, so is a policeman, but domestic affairs run differently because domestic affairs are still maintaining the illusion that those who are here, at least in the United States model, are free. So the way that they do it, the way that they balance the books, the way that they do their paperwork, the way that the contract is formed, that is a different formula than the soldier following orders somewhere else, where we're not, where the order giver class is not concerned if those people over there don't feel like they're free. This type 2 psychopathy, it's my opinion, okay? It's my personal opinion that the training you receive to become a soldier, especially a high ranking soldier, and especially one that, let's say, goes on multiple tours, that training changes your ability to tap into empathy. For some, maybe temporarily. For others, maybe permanently. And for maybe a few, a much more rare occurrence, probably eliminates your empathy bag. Because the way that you are indoctrinated into the cult of being a soldier or being any type of costumed, whether you're domestic or overseas, um, costumed, killer on behalf of a government, on behalf of a group of people that think they can rule over others, rule over their peers, control resources, and take all the responsibility for taking care of people who they do not like and do not know. Um, they isolate you, send you off to camp, they torture you over and over and over again. They dysregulate your um what they call like your cycle of waking and sleeping. Your they wake you up in the middle of the night a lot as a part of the torture, as a part of the thing. Um and they indoctrinate your mind. They tell you what we're fighting for, they tell you what to think in all of the different categories, what to think. Right? And depending on what job you take after a certain amount of time, they tell you what to think there. And then within that, there's the cultures of the friends that you make along the way, and you guys form cultures, and those cultures reinforce other parts of the whole doctrine of being one of these big piggies. One of these big dogs with your dog tags, right? And now even these religions, the religion of monetary value, the religion of man's authority, I'm not here to bash and to call you stupid for being an adherent to it. I obviously adhere to both of those religions, as but I try to not do so as much as possible. But they're baked and caked into your habits and your being, right? Um, I'm not bashing when I describe oinkers, pigs, and whatnot, and I use those words to describe the order followers. It's more so an image. It's an attempt at creating an image that may inspire those of us who are not in that cult to tell our family members and friends to quit their cult in some way, shape, or form, to have the conversation, right? To plant the seed respectfully. Because you do operate as attack dogs or supporters of attack dogs or supporters of the order giver class that order around the attack dogs. That is what you are reduced to by them, not by me in my podcast and my opinions, but by them, who former priest class level members of the dark occult said publicly in speeches that they never called you law enforcement, soldier, officer, or any respectable title of your occupation. In private, when they do their rituals, when they hold meetings, they call you their dogs because that's what you are being when you say, sir, yes, sir. When you follow the policy, procedure, and protocol over morality. When you run a story that you want to protect freedom and at the same time run a story that you cannot disobey an order even if said order is immoral, and you don't know or don't want to acknowledge the fact that the more immoral a society is, the less free its inhabitants are. But I digress. All that to say, I'm really I'm really disgusted by the behavior, but I'm not trying to just put down the people in the costumes. I'm just trying to get you to come out of your costume for good. Just get out of that costume and turn your attention to some of the solutions proposed on this channel over and over again, right? Learning your neighbors' names and problems and working together to solve you guys' problems, regardless of what the religion of man's authority says you're allowed to do, to try and do to solve your problems. Come together, protect each other, learn the problems that your community is facing, and solve the problems together. Shout out to um, Cynthia Mitchell, who introduced me and my wife to Lawrence Nature Boy of um, Collectively Sustainable and Farm Fresh 24/7. You know what I'm saying? Go check out people. People are getting together with local communities and they're doing the stuff, right? And the more that we can also introduce concepts of reality, like the more that we can also introduce into those initiatives truthers, truth tellers, people that can teach philosophy in a way that changes people's lives, the closer we get to the result of freedom that we seek to bring about in this world. And so, you know, question is, what story are you willing to live? In this world of perspectives that are trying to get to the truth, what story are you willing to live? What perspective are you willing to create about yourself for yourself? Because if it's one of seeking truth and trying to align your behavior with truth, then it cannot be one that is just a full-time adherent to the religion of man's authority or the religion of monetary value. Not blindly, not anymore. With that, I love you guys. I will see you tomorrow in the next episode. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so Sarah Cross should be in the building. We're gonna be spilling some tea. It's gonna go super hard. Love you always in all.